For our next speaker, I recommend, if you haven't already, grab 3 different colors of pencil, crayons. Lashanna Williams has a practice for us that will involve 3 colors. Lashanna she's coming from Seattle, and she's the executive director of A Sacred Passing. Lashanna is a death doula. She's a somatic therapist. She's truly a healer. She's the co-founder of The Listening Line, something that I am very excited for all of you to learn about, to become part of, and to utilize in your own life. Lashanna is here to talk with us about community death care. Lashanna, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. How are you?
Great.
Thank you for this space, and thank you to everybody for doing what you had to do to get here today. Let me take these off. Things are thick, and just making it here, making it to see this live, or making space for the recording is being kind to yourself. And I would like to start and honor the people of the Duwamish. I am out here in Seattle and on their unceded land, and they are currently a federally unrecognized tribe. And I'm going to paste a link into the chat, and you can see how you can help be an advocate, and as many national allies as they have in that, the quicker that will happen. So thank you if you choose to join me in that. Thank you, Roshi Joan. Your words, your message, they landed just the right way on just the right day. Thank you. When I was asked to share a little bit about community care and death care, like a kaleidoscope of colors went off in my head, and I was like, well, what part? Everything is so wonderfully interlaced. Community care is about clean air and clean water and access to food and shelter and medical care. And community care is about holding violent, racist, biased systems accountable and dismantling them. Community care is also making food for someone, washing someone's hair, picking up, dry cleaning, laundry, gardening in someone's yard, cutting someone's grass. Community care is assisting someone around their house with things that their body can't do anymore, letting them be a part of it and helping. Community care creates space in our life. And the space that I want to specifically talk about today is the space to grieve and for grief. When we are held by community, it looks so different. Each of us need different things depending on where we're at, our access needs, our health. And when we don't have that container to hold us in of community care, we don't have time to feel. We don't have time to process emotions, and we move forward. There is a magic that comes when we are truly held and allowed to feel. The acknowledgement of allowing that space is not something that in this era of late stage capitalism that we do well in this country. We don't pause well. Roshi Joan mentioned that you can be supported in your grief. And that's the first thing that I would really like us to play with on the paper that you hopefully grabbed. It can be as big or as small as you'd like. And if you have 3 colors, awesome. If not, 1 works perfect. The first thing that I would like us to think about is what holds you in your grief, in this moment. So if we could just take 1 minute and think about that. It could be people, music, it could be smells. You don't have to make a list. You can write them all over the page. I like to call them brain blooms. They don't all have to be full-time supports. They can be once in a while. What's supporting you right now in your grief? Thank you for that minute. This is the time that I really like to ask folks questions. And we don't get to do that. And so I'm having like a moment of small grief for interaction with all of you. And I'm going to acknowledge that. The ways that we are held currently in our grief sort of dictate the ways that we are able to process that in community. Do we have space? Are our needs being met? What needs aren't being met? There's so many things to think of. There's so many ways to hold people and be held. Now on that same page, you can either make a circle or you can mix and commingle the words. I would like you to pause and think about your grief of the past. Who supported you in the past? How were you supported? What things felt really good? Was it the fact that your neighbor wheeled out your garbage and just did it and you didn't have to engage and ask a question? Was it the fact that your neighbor came over and brought a movie and a pizza and a joint and you hung out for the night? Maybe someone took your kids and played so you could chill. What has held you in the past in your grief? Thank you for that. As we keep doing this, hopefully you'll see that there's intersections between the past and the present and the way that you were supported fully and the way that you continue to be supported. It's also really, really important to understand and like embrace the fact that the ways that you need support can fluctuate with the wind, and it's okay. The last portion of this exercise is the future. It's my favorite place to play because you get to think about all of the ways that hold you being held. Someone is there doing those things in all of the ways. And so in the pit of your belly, what are all of the ways that you could be held in the future in your grief? Knowing what you know about the ways that you have been held and are being held. What do you hope to have around you in the future as you grieve? The last thing that I said was, what can you imagine around you in the future when you grieve? What are all of the things that will hold you tight? Thank you, Donna. Thank you for that minute. Looking at the three pieces of three sections of information that you have written down on your sheet, where are the intersections? What has been consistent? What is holding you in the past and now and will be there in the future? The reason this links in with community care is when you are in community and everybody's doing something, we're all participating in small ways that matter. It's so much easier to care for folks when everybody's doing something little. And in community, everybody's doing something little, everybody's picking up something. And it becomes something that we do. In the Western United States, we have given so much of community care to the professionals because that's what we've been trained to do. Is that's for these people to handle. Well, we can listen, we can care for people, we can tend. It's what we do. The Sierra had asked me to speak a little bit about the listening line, and the listening line came to be in the middle of COVID. We were talking about access to someone just to talk to. The ability to walk down the street and talk to a neighbor was gone. People are quarantining and protecting themselves, and there's so much fear around contact that the spaces for folks to go and to talk quickly became limited. And the listening line is a volunteer run line that folks can call 24 hours a day and just talk. folks can be in crisis. They don't have to be in crisis. They can want to share something happy that's happening with them. We've had folks call and talk about their quarantine buddies chewing noises. We've had parents call and be so thankful to have some place to vent to. We've had medical professionals call exhausted at the end of a shift and just want someone to cry to before they went back with the people that they were quarantining with. It's a space for people to talk, and we don't have many spaces like that in this country for people just to talk. No judgment, no diagnosis, no money, just call and talk. When we have community to process things with, we are so much healthier. Thank you so much for playing with paper and pens. I wish we were playing with some watercolor and seeing faces, but thank you.
Thank you, Lashanna. We have some questions for you.
Sure.
Yeah. Grieving, and let's see here. This is from Elizabeth. How do you juggle your own grieving with the grieving of your loved ones? Because you work in so much, you're on the front line. And I am assuming from her question, she might be too. I find myself stepping back from leaning in on loved ones, knowing that they too are grieving. But at the same time, I feel like this has put up barriers between us.
I think having really honest conversations about it can be helpful, if folks are willing, and to just say like I'm grieving. What are you feeling? Are there ways that we can support each other? It may look like a game night if you are all quarantining together, or it may look like a meal. It may look like, actually, I just need to be alone for a little bit. Or do you have a good book to read? But having that conversation to figure out what someone's needs are can help you better understand, are you able to show up for that person? Is this person able to show up for me, instead of guessing?
I want to mention that I've also gone through the listening line training, and it's similar to me in that, and it's a wonderful community. So when you go through the training, you meet. I met lots of death doulas. I found, in the training that that's kind of who you are and what you do, Lashanna. But that was the network, and so people are trained when you call them, and it's really, sometimes we might have community, but our community might not really be trained or able or willing to help and listen, especially when it comes to grieving. So I highly recommend going through the training, because it will, during this time of lockdown for many of us, it will provide a community, a very caring, kind, and compassionate community. This question is from Lynn. Right after a loss, people share stories, speak the names of the one who passed, but as time goes on, I worry about my loved one being forgotten. I miss the rush of support at the beginning, but feel like I need it more now. How do I encourage that?
With folks that you trust, you let them know. You let them know. Would a phone call feel good, or like a once a month check-in? Yeah, it's really about the conversation with folks.
Communicating. And how do people volunteer for the listening line? It's the last question.
Thank you. Well, you register for the training, and the training is free. And once you go through the training, you sign up for a shift. The shifts can be 1 hour to 4 hours. We just ask if it is the same time each week, because our phone programming system is not sophisticated, and it's volunteer run, so our capacity is limited. Yeah, so just sign up for our training and do as much or as little as you would like.
Thank you, Lashanna.
Thank you.
You'll get one of us. I'm volunteering on the listening line. Lashanna is on there all the time. So we hope to listen to your voice on the listening line. Thanks, Lashanna.